Βρισκόμαστε με την Brooke, η οποία είναι η narrative designer για το Control, το επερχόμενο game της Remedy. So Brooke, first of all, you are a very good player and designer. She showed us some of the gameplay, which we cannot show right now, but the game is releasing anyway in a few days, so that will not be a problem for you. What is your favorite part of Control?
Oh my goodness, that is a really difficult question. But I think my favorite part is of course the story, being a narrative designer. I think Jessie is a relatable character. She comes from outside of the Federal Bureau of Control looking for answers about her missing brother. So she has a very personal motivation that we can relate to, which grounds us the whole time through a story of very strange events. Because when she gets to this building, it's been taken over by the Hiss, which is an otherworldly force that we can't say too much about. And she helps the people there try and take control of the building. And hopefully she finds out more about, you know, her life along the way. So my favourite part is her personal story, but also that always when you explore in Control, you'll be able to find things, narrative things, side missions, characters to talk to. We've really focused on building a world, and that's my favourite thing.
Okay, so the Hiss reminds me of the smoke in Lost. You know Lost, the series?
Right, yeah,
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, yeah.
And some other stuff that you mentioned, they remind me of some other stuff that I've seen. So I would like to ask, what was the inspiration for a game like Control?
Yeah. Well, Control is firmly in the new weird genre, so it's not fantasy and it's not science fiction. So we did draw on a number of inspirations to help get the tone right. And they are things like Twin Peaks, X-Files, a book called Annihilation, and also a movie called Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer, and China Mieville's work. So all of these authors and TV series, even Stranger Things Season 1, when things are a bit strange and you don't know what's going on and it's very unsettling. And it's hard to, we wanted to make the game feel relatable and realistic, even though there are strange things happening. And the reason is we didn't want it to be whimsical or too fantasy-like. We wanted to keep it in the modern day and show people trying to understand or trying to take control of otherworldly things. So yeah, it was difficult to get right, but I think we've done it. So
Why did you choose a female character to find the male and not the opposite, which we have seen in the past 30 years, I believe, in video games?
That's a really good question. Remedy has made several games now, all with active female, male protagonists, and we felt like it was time to tell a story with an active female protagonist. And actually that was one of the exciting things for me coming onto the project. When I realised what I would be working on, I was so happy to see a woman at the front of a Remedy game. And the best thing about it too is that she has allies in the Bureau who are also women. So there's Emily Pope and Helen Marshall, and I think it's great to have one female character, but even better when you can have many female characters talking with each other and helping each other. There are male characters as well, but I love the fact that there are you know, at least 3 main characters, and I think there's 1 or 2 minor characters who are women. So that was really important to us. You know, it was about time, and Jessie's story in particular we wanted to tell. And then one last thing is that we wanted to bring back Courtney Hope, who is the actress who plays Jessie. She worked with us on Quantum Break, and she was an absolute joy to work with. And because we had a, you know, female lead role, and it turned out that she was interested and wanted to work with us again, so it all just, you know, seemed really natural. So
I would swear that it is you playing the Control. Like, you have the same hair! The same hair, I swear!
I totally didn't mean to do that, but I think I stand a pretty good chance of cosplaying as Jessie. What do you think?
Yes.
Yeah, I should cosplay as Jessie.
Yes, we want that. How about the superpowers that Jessie has? First, how many types of superpowers does Jessie have?
Okay, good question. So the abilities Jessie gets over time throughout the game. She can launch objects at enemies. She can lift objects in the environment around her in a shield. She can evade, like dash really quickly. She can levitate. She can compel, like control enemies for a certain amount of time to work for her. So there are a number of different abilities that you can get over time, and not all of them are available on the main path. So if you do a side mission, you might find a brand new ability. And so we recommend players explore, find those side missions and abilities because they'll be really useful. And we also encourage players to use their abilities with the different gun forms when they're playing, because they'll be able to move around the areas much easier and find combat. Well, they can play the way that they want to play, I suppose, which is actually new for a Remedy game. And you can use ability points to upgrade your abilities as well. And also you can use abilities to access new areas in the world. So, and that was a way of having the world open up over time for players as well, so which is new for a Remedy game as well. So there are areas that you can get to with the levitate ability only, which you get a bit later in the game.
And there is no waypoint.
No. So we don't have a waypoint system in the world. And the reason for that is we wanted players to explore. They can, of course, access a map and track the current missions that they're doing on the map and find their way that way. But we don't have too much going on in the UI in the world because we wanted players to explore. And we found that if we pointed it out in the world, they would just sort of directly go to those points. So
that's what I do.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I do it too. And so we also have a lot of signage in the world for players to use to navigate around. And one thing our game director was clear about was not making a game that I guess didn't hold the player's hand the whole way through. It sort of let them be curious and let them find things over time. So the idea isn't to be frustrating, but to encourage curiosity, because we put a lot of detail into the world that we want players to find. And so it was a bit of a hard decision, because sometimes it's, well, we want players to know exactly where to go, but we also want them to explore and uncover the environment, because we've put a lot of story into the environment. There are a lot of narrative documents, videos to find, audio logs. And I think, you know, when players get into the mood of exploring, but also, you know, curious about the story, I think that will really add to the whole experience of Control. Like, settle in and enjoy.
It is really something that will stay with you. Like I have played games that I'm still curious. I still don't know what happened at certain places, and nobody knows. I cannot even find it on the internet. But these games, I remember them until now.
Yes,
so
that's great to hear.
So yeah. Control can be one of these games, because I was reading on the internet, on your website, that it does not solve your questions, does not answer, it just creates more questions.
Exactly, yes. And that was something, we didn't want to outright explain everything that happens in the game, so we don't directly explain the hiss, but we let players figure that out over time with the story. And part of the new weird genre is when you find the answer to one question, there are more questions, and it only creates more mysteries. And so I think that makes for a deeper, more detailed world as well. Like, it feels like you're still catching up and trying to understand what's going on. And the best thing about that is Jessie's trying to understand too. So you don't feel alone as a player in your confusion. It's not like everyone in the game knows except for you. Like, they're all trying to understand too. So I think that's a good way to introduce curiosity and unknown without players being frustrated. Yeah.
And one last question. How many hours is about Control?
That's a good question. I think just the main storyline, nothing else, would be about 15 to 20 hours roughly. But if you explore, do those side missions like we were saying, find those abilities. There are also other game modes in Control. So for example, there are like invasions around the building that you might need to pay attention to. So those are happening as well as side missions and main missions. So there's always content and things happening in the world. So if you choose to follow up all of those things, it could go for a lot longer.
Okay, this is the last. Will we see a new game plus?
Like
after you finish the game, like new game abilities.
Oh, I see. Well, we are definitely having 2 expansions that are coming out next year. Yeah, so they will have more story and more interesting things expanding the world. So we definitely have plans to give Control some more love after launch.
Great, thank you so much. Can't wait to play Control.
Thank you very much.